I'm trying to be less than 10 minutes, so I'm going to be kind of short on some things leading up to the point here. When I was a kid, the PlayStation 1 and 2 came out, home computers were becoming more accessible every year, and mobile phones were getting popular, and to everyone's dismay, they all had different charging cables at the time. Most of us that watch YouTube have heard someone gawk about that era for the video games, and yeah, they're very imaginative and creative titles, but I'm not talking about it for nostalgia, but to help explain the jade that way too many people seem to have, regardless of their age. For those around my age, do you remember when it was the case that even the elderly wanted to play the Wii? It was so cool that everyone was doing something together. Actually, it was like kind of magical, wasn't it? It was just, bringing everyone together. And at the time, it really was that cool. The whole country was in on the craze. Can you even imagine anything now creating widespread enthusiasm like that again? What sort of tech boom has happened since then that comes close to the palpable excitement people felt for an advancing medium than at that time? The Wii, like I said, of course, it was hype. Like journalists and, analysts, people, like everybody was just on it. It was so fun that something could amuse and impress so ubiquitously in such a real way. And yes, the preface here is super shallow, yes, but I'm not doing a super in-depth thing, and I'm not going to look back at centuries old of every new tech that's ever existed, in a video essay format. I'm just yapping here. But just enough to, get to my point so you understand where I'm coming from. But I do feel an obligation to bring up Endgame. That's not a tech thing, but it was a legit worldwide excitement. I thought it was pretty amazing and fascinating that people from around the world felt that for a few weeks, they were gathering with each other for the epic conclusion to a years-long tale. It was super awesome. But what since Endgame or perhaps Avatar has brought everyone this feeling of mutual excitement, togetherness, or maybe even pride in just being human for a bit? The iPhone was pretty groundbreaking when it came out. And honestly, I cannot remember a time that I was more excited to use a piece of tech than when I saw the first iPhone. And shout out if you remember Hot Trick spelled like this. Though still, that initial excitement kind of died a couple iPhones in. I think people were pretty hype until the Bendgate thing was happening, or maybe it was as early as the iPhone 5C. Can you believe that we still use the term gate to describe? Did people use the term gate this and gate that before the Bendgate? Or was that, did the Bendgate thing start the gate moniker? I don't know. Nonetheless, though, it was a huge wow to the world. Maybe not China. People haven't had this excitement about gaming consoles in such a big way either since the 7th generation, at least not as far as I can tell. I consider people desperate to suck on Shintaro Furukawa's penis to be subhumans. But there's got to be something that we felt justified the human condition in such a huge way since the iPhone and 7th gen consoles, right? Gay marriage was legalized in the 2010s too, so that's cool, and it's progress, but not invigorating. I mean, I'm sure gay people were happy, though I was. It's got to be AI, doesn't it? The promises in the medical field, the work week will probably be cut down the line. It can help us be more productive at home, advance space travel super quicker. It does really long, complicated equations, usually without slipping up and losing track along the way like a human might. Even though AI is already getting kind of screwy and the people that make it don't even have answers, so I mean, none of us do either, but pretty weird. Maybe, though, it will even think of things nobody ever has before, and people can make things with whatever that information will be to make everyone's lives a little better. Even though life is already pretty easy if you have enough money in our late capitalist society. Now, as we should all know, it turns out that AI is mostly being used to get our pedo elites a bag before our country begins its total descent. Which is pretty terrifying to ponder because it's really not that far away, but that is reality. And as I'm revising this, Trump is making a pathetic attempt to rally his followers around the flag by bombing Iran, which is absolutely pathetic. But his followers will drink gallons of semen before ever conceding to the general consensus, Daddy Trump is a bad guy. Or an idiot. And let's just pretend that BRICS doesn't exist. Anyway, AI is being used to squeeze poor people for just that last bit before shit all goes down. And it's not just doing that financially. So the point of the video, very soon, because of generative AI creative tools, people will largely get to a point that they subconsciously instantly dismiss anything that could have been considered impressive to them before this sort of AI takeover of people's feeds on social media platforms. This will be due to mental exhaustion in some words. As far as the fears, similar thing happened with music, kind of. Closest thing I can think at least. In the later 20th century, people began to make music on the computer a lot more. Some people really didn't like that, claiming that it was going to kill the spirit or soul involved in music production, because you can't connect with the music if you're doing it all on a computer that just does it for you. But of course that led to lots of cool shit like this. So of course those people were quite wrong, as there is quite a mountain of information to be learned about digital music production if you really want to obtain your own unique sound. Unlike a lot of EDM and dubstep artists who all sound the same as each other because they just use the same sounds. Despite the fact that it's my main genre, I can be real, like 95% of it sounds like generic, just noisy trash. I mean, it's not just EDM, of course, though. These three songs from back in the day sound the same as each other.
Let's take some calls from the request line. Okay, check it out. It's Santana again. Step.
I'm just thinking of that clip from, or I guess audio snippet from the GTA 5 radio, where they had the fucking voice actor of Carl describe dubstep music. Show's hilarious.
Yeah, let's go to the phones real quick.
Yeah, I'm calling in to request any music that ain't this. Stop playing everything you've been playing, cause your music sounds like a dumpster rolling down 5 flights of stairs.
I'm pretty sure that the people that had fears of what that was going to do to music has been totally substantiated with AI, because it is way more extreme, and it is literally just doing things completely for people with almost no input or effort or experience or, you know, any human element in general. So yeah, that's 100% valid now. Like when you watch someone play chess, you are impressed by the individual when they perform a set of moves against their opponent that you didn't see coming, correct? When you see people racing and tactically utilize a slipstream, it's cool because of how long it takes to build up those skills and experience to recognize the exact moment to perform a good execution on something like that. When you see a field goal scored in a tied game, it's very exciting because of the immense pressure on one person being watched by thousands or even millions of people. It's super hype. I don't even like football, and like, I get hype when I'm watching shit like that with my family or whatever. Now imagine that whatever you just remembered, if it were watched through a screen, was not real and it was just generated by a computer. It's not the same, right? It's like if your friend, made you a gift and told you that they made you a gift for your birthday, only for you to see that same thing at the store later and realize that they lied to you and that they did not make anything. I feel like the feeling's similar when you're scrolling your feed and you think something is real that you think is cool, and then you come to the realization that nobody did anything besides just type a couple words and hit enter on some website, and that was it. It just doesn't really hit the same, does it? Even if AI does bring us some things that are pretty funny with quotation marks, our already constant questioning as to whether or not everything we're seeing is real is bringing us closer to the AI exhaustion that I think I titled this. That will be ubiquitous with everything that is seen on a screen post-2023. Probably very soon if it's not happening already, which I'm pretty sure it is. I mean, besides things that you decide to watch. And unless sites start changing dates of things to fuck with us, which is honestly an idea that freaks me out because it's not impossible, but I also know that's probably super rational. Or maybe that'll happen in the future. I hope not. And even worse, since most people already prefer spoon feeding of secondhand content on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook, Snapchat, and YouTube Shorts, the date won't even matter most of the time anyways. But to reel it back, we will pretty soon reach that point that because of generative AI, we are subconsciously going to write off almost everything we see on our phones because it will get very tiring pondering if every single thing you see is fake or not. And again, that is at least if you are just being fed content. But again, it could reach a point eventually that generating content of yourself becomes so normalized that you won't even be able to trust any YouTubers you watch either. Or specific people on TikTok that you think wouldn't do that, but what if it gets to that point? In the good timeline, people stop scrolling and actively seek out longer form content, movies, or real life experiences. The best option, instead of speedrunning dementia. Alright, I'm back on a different day. I think it's been like almost a week. I mentioned that stuff about excitement at technical marvels or innovations at the start because we are becoming extremely jaded as well, which I'm also worried about because people that don't look forward to anything are usually not very happy. And I think that contributes to nothing ever happens, why people just move on so quickly to the next thing in the news, why people are so depressed and so bored. We're burning ourselves out on our phones, we're at our peak with tech, it seems. So we could, as a species, discover how to teleport people, and I feel like nobody would care. Like, we have got to snap out of this, like, fake reality that we live in and do IRL anything that's real life for those in the back. And kind of side tangent, the last job I had, not being the only one, forces you and me to use applications on our phone created by our technocrats to clock into work. So you start your day and end your day with a device that is destroying your dopamine production ability. And in my experience talking to people, that's for most people, and the ability to see any real joys in life, like your ancestors could. So, like, even if you chose to not use your cell phone all morning and you are addicted to it, the temptation to get a quick dopamine hit tempts you when you clock into work because you are forced to use your phone that you're trying to perhaps not use. And if I'm to get shiny hat here, I don't necessarily think that people sit in a scary boardroom and think about ways they can destroy people's minds and control them, but things like I just mentioned are really convenient to keep people under the spell of this tech addiction. You have to use it even if you don't want to. You are not allowed to not have a smartphone today. If you want to be a functioning member of society, that is. This extremely addictive device is forcefully integrated into our lives, a lot more often than that too. Again, I think there's quite a lot of nods from company to company to keep people hooked on the phone in hopes that they'll use any of their products. And, I mean, that's just like a brief mention of that sort of not really conspiratorial thing, but that's a whole nother video. How many addictive things you can download on your phone that have had no legal repercussions, that are designed to be manipulative and addictive for all ages, is like such a huge rabbit hole and a depressing one. So if you've watched this far, I want you to do me a favor for yourself, perhaps. And it's going to sound a little silly, but just think about it for a minute. As I was typing this, I had just returned from a bathroom break, and next time you need to use a bathroom, and every time you do, for as long as you can stand to or remember, I want you to leave your phone where you were prior to using the bathroom and just go without it. Sit there in silence. You'll realize that it's not too different a feeling from porn addiction. It sounds like a weird comparison, but it's something else highly addictive that is not a drug and that affects people kind of like an addictive drug. You resist it and you feel maybe a little bit of stress. You get kind of uneasy or uncomfortable, and it gets hard to focus because you feel like you don't know what you should focus on because you're thinking about your phone. Probably you might want to fidget because of the boogeyman boredom. We have become severely intolerant to boredom in the modern age, and it's making us less and less self-sufficient as time goes on, because that also destroys your ability to critically think because you do not think very often when you're not bored. Which, I don't know if that sounds disconnected to some people, but it is very much connected. I could go on to explain, but I do want this to be a shorter video and actually reach the crowd I'm addressing or trying to address / reach by not presenting with a 20-minute timestamp before anybody even gives a video a chance. Which after editing that first half I see is already at 18 minutes, so maybe I'll have to break it up. I don't know, but like deadass, if you look into our serious boredom intolerance, you'll easily be able to understand why it's a problem. I'll leave this one hoity-toity rich guy that goes to Harvard or something to explain it to you in a pretty short video. It's also very easy to understand. He explains it very well. People are already trained to consume and forget because of our phones and, social media. We're starting to forget that our lives are going by too, which is like not good. It makes me kind of sick to think about at what scale and how often people are really just going home and sitting on their phone for a couple hours a day. Like, think about how many hours you, like, person watching, it probably applies to most of the audience. How many hours have you just sat and looked at your phone in your whole life, do you think? And just not been doing something else that could benefit you? It's like, oh God. Oh, it's so bad. Please try to put your phone away and do something besides jerking off, as fun as it is. Walk your dog, who is probably sad that you don't do it more often or at all if you're one of those pet owners. If you're one of the people I'm talking about, I've got to write a video about how normalized so much abuse / neglect full behavior of animals is. Mostly neglect, of course, which can become abusive. And if you are one of those people, it is very, very normalized, so I don't blame most people for being super neglectful to dogs. And what I mean by neglectful is just pretending that the dog doesn't need to go on walks and doesn't need attention because they're just a stupid dog and they can sit in the corner and look pretty all day and be ignored. Like, that's I've seen that a lot. That might sound like really fucked up or like cruel to a lot of people watching, but I've seen it firsthand way more than I'd really care for. It's really bogus. But yeah, please walk your dog at least twice a week for a half hour each time if it's only that much. Like, dogs get bored. And walk them with a harness, please. I mean, it's not good for their I'll put the word in here. I'm blanking. Sorry. Like my parents' dog. Sorry if you guys are watching. I'm going on a tangent. I don't care. Their dog keeps pissing in the house. It's a very energetic dog. And they don't walk it. It's like, why do you think she's pissing in the house? They piss in the house when they're already trained to pee outside because they want attention. They're trying to get your attention, dude. So she wants you to take her for a fucking walk, dude. Like, she gets so fucking lit when I take her for a walk. I'm like, this dog is so sad. And they think that, I feel like they think that because she gets super excited to see them every day when they get home, that means that she's happy. And that, no, the dog is still, like, hoping that you're actually going to do something when you get home. And this is not just a dig at my parents. Like, again, this is anybody that thinks this way about dogs. But anyways, that activity can help you, absorb more of just the reality that exists around you, which would mean as well when you're on the walk, don't listen to anything from your device, at least sometimes. Just think about, like, thoughts. Like, let thoughts just enter your mind. Like, kind of let yourself go a little bit and just pay attention to your surroundings completely. Okay, it's like you'll realize that the world is more interesting and that you're more interesting than you think you are. And at the core of this, your appreciation for life will be better and your memory will be a little bit improved over time if you put your phone down more often and just think about stuff. Was my phone vibrating loud? It sounded loud. Try to think about how often it is throughout your day that your muscle memory tells you to put your hand in your pocket and waste time looking at your phone and absorbing things that you will not remember. And on that note, if we're being real, that you do not care about one bit. Like, you do not give a shit about anything you're looking at. Even things that make you angry, you still don't care. You know that you do not care about anything you're looking at if it involves scrolling. And if making yourself think about how much time you're wasting stresses you out, then that's good, because you know that it's wrong to be wasting so much time. When you are just standing or sitting and not doing anything, you're supposed, like, for a few minutes, you're supposed to be in a totally normal mind state. You should not get anxious because you're not doing anything. You should relax, or, be able to relax. That is at least considering how much stimulation the human brain is supposed to be getting, because we didn't evolve with technology, not one bit. Like, we are completely super, probably hundreds of years behind our tech in, like, actually being adept with it. And speaking of, I should talk about how jaded we are to negative or tragic information, because we're being turned into a bunch of sociopaths. We were never, ever meant to take in as much horrible news every day as many of us do, which is also a serious problem with scrolling. I was just watching Breaking Bad recently for the first time, and I was watching it with one of my friends, and it was this is kind of a spoiler, sort of, but there's a explosive tragedy in one of the episodes, and one of the Walt's kids, high school, he's a teacher there. He is standing in the middle of their, like, gym auditorium room, and all the students are in the bleachers, and some of the students are talking about how the tragedy is affecting them, and the teachers are, like, maybe giving their response too. My friend was like, man, it's, like, really weird how they were, like, this shook by this nowadays, and we hear about way worse stuff now, and, like, nobody cares. And I thought, yeah, that's, like, pretty it's pretty bad, isn't it? That people just don't care about, like, people actually fucking dying. People just don't give a shit anymore. But that's something that people seriously need to talk about more, is how much negative information we take in. Not because it makes you depressed or because it makes you upset or angry, because of how jaded people are becoming to it. It genuinely is turning people into sociopaths. Sorry if psychopath is the right word, but I'm pretty sure sociopath is correct here, or something similar. But it's very, very bad. It's so much worse than people think, in my opinion, because if people, God, people just don't, I feel like we're at a point where people think that death isn't very bad anymore. Like, that's just fucked up. That's just, we're like crumbling apart, dude. I don't know what else I can add to that in the moment. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I'll, like, try to write about that, but even from a logical standpoint, we should be taking things like that very seriously, even if our feelings don't tell us that it's that serious. We should just understand that it is and treat it with the way that it deserves. But anyway, now another thing, like, me personally, in my experience, when you try to talk to people that, like, you talk to regularly, does it seem like people get either kind of agitated or annoyed whenever you try to talk about something even kind of serious, like something current that's actually happening? People seem very avoidant in serious discussions or, like, political discussions. I'm pretty sure, if I'm not mistaken, that talking about politics or, like, real world events with your friends used to be a lot more normal, and now it's, like, become so taboo. It feels like it's hard to find people that will have discussions about stuff like that with me, and that's also extremely problematic, because then people only have their own thoughts to deal with those issues, which is not good for anybody, like our president. Now, this may sound kind of dumb, but if you wanted to get a good use of AI related to this video, you could ask it what things you can do IRL to distract you from using your phone, and maybe just focus on something with your friends. like board games or multiplayer games, video games, that actually have co-op modes or multiplayer modes that are local. You play in the same room. For those of you that happen to have been born too late for that, or just don't have games that you like do that. But personally, I find that way more fun than shit like Fortnite, League, Apex, whatever. And I don't have anything else to say. I just hope this encourages someone to think about where we've arrived, are headed, and maybe it'll make someone want to IRL more and do some activities that are a little more archaic or rudimentary. And remember that you're always wrong to someone. Always. Ugh.